So it's the beginning of 2025, and if you follow my channel, you know that I'm a handheld first type of player, and I have so many handheld consoles already in my collection. And in 2025 we already have a couple of new announcements for some other consoles that will be coming later this year. Nintendo Switch 2, Lenovo Legion Go, Lenovo Legion S, MSI Claw, and so many others. So 2025 will be packed, and I already made a video about that, so make sure to check it out over here. But considering that I have so many handheld consoles, I wanted to make this video because I got a couple of questions from some of you guys asking which are the consoles that I actually use, because I have so many, probably I don't have time to play all of them. So it's time to clear this out. And I'll start with the obvious, because you know me, I have Steam Deck, ROG Ally, Nintendo Switch, and a couple of different ones, newer ones. And to be fair, these are still the ones that I'm using the most. Probably the one that I'm using mostly is the PlayStation Portal currently, just because I love the PS5 exclusive titles. So that one is being used each couple of days. Then I have the ROG Ally, which is sitting right there on my desk, and I use it also docked but also in handheld mode. And that one is played a couple of times per week. Then I have the Steam Deck, which is used not that often as the ROG Ally, just because I have several launchers when it comes to PC gaming, and this one only has Steam, and you can put some Epic ones as well, but this one doesn't have Game Pass, at least not yet. So that's why the ROG Ally is being used more than the Steam Deck for me. And the Nintendo Switch, to be honest, I haven't used that one in a long time, only for a couple of Mario Kart sessions with a couple of friends, but other than that, it's staying right beside my TV and that's it. But with the newer one, probably I'll play some more titles. So now we got the obvious out of the way, because those ones are still the ones that I played the most. But to be fair, as you see in this B-roll, I have so many retro consoles, and while most of you will say that I don't use them, I just keep them in this drawer, and that's not true. While of course some of them are barely used, but a lot of them are actually played quite often. I have mentioned this in the past as well, but one of my favorite consoles in history, handheld or not, but this one is one of my favorite, that has to be the PS Vita. And I have the 1000 model, the OLED one, and this is my go-to console each time I want to have some casual gaming. This is the console that I usually take with me whenever I'm on the go. Well, this, but also the 2000 model, just because of the battery life. While I do enjoy the screen on the original model, this one is more light, more portable, bigger screen. Not OLED, but still a bigger screen and better battery life. And also the micro USB port, which it's still common to find if I ever forget my charging cable. But yeah, these two, one of these two is definitely coming with me whenever I'm traveling. And there are so many titles out there that you can play on these consoles. And this one, it's still fresh, and this one is modded, just because I wanted to see what the modding community is doing nowadays. So the PS Vita is still going strong, and I said this a bunch of different times in other videos. I really hope that Sony will come out with a newer version, and if they even call it the PS Vita 2, wow, that would be amazing. Now, another console which maybe you already expect, and I mentioned it this several times, it has to be the 3DS, and this is the new 3DS XL, so the latest model. This is the orange one, but I do have a snap case, a Pokemon one on top, which I do have a short about this one, and people are going crazy over there, are asking me about this case, and I just got this on eBay for a couple of bucks, but it's a snap-on case. It protects the 3DS. You can barely feel it, it's light, so I really like this one. And I think it goes really well with the orange and black around it. But yeah, this is the 3DS, the new 3DS XL, which I absolutely love. I still play this, as I said with the PS Vita. I don't think a week goes by without playing either the 3DS or the PS Vita, or even both. And while Nintendo did close the 3DS store and the Wii store later last year, I believe, this is still going strong. Also, the modding community is going strong, and there are several games that you can play. And to be honest, the 3D screen on this one for me is still amazing. It was way ahead of its time, and I really hope that we can see this coming back. And there is the Tencent console that was announced in January, which I mentioned in my previous video, and that one has a 3D screen. I'm really curious how that will go, because for this console you could tell which games were made specifically for taking advantage of the 3D, like 3D Mario Land. That title is amazing on this console, but some other you can just feel like it's a too plain 3D. But anyway, I'm really curious how the Tencent console will work out. The 3DS is one of my favorite console in history, and I do play both 3DS and DS games on this one, even though I have almost every DS console as well. Whenever I'm playing those titles, I usually do that on this little device. I love this thing, I couldn't get enough of it. Of course, I do have a couple of DS consoles as well, and this is the DS Lite. This is in pink, and this is my only model so far, but I never really went and bought another one just because this was actually the first console that I got for my collection. I bought this for really cheap in a flea market, and even though it's pink, I really love how this looks like. And yeah, nostalgia for me, I want to use this one still. So I'll be not replacing this, will be part of my collection, and probably will be the only DS Lite that I'll be having. And while you can play DS games, of course, on this console, and I do have a couple of them, like Super Mario Brothers and so many others. Actually, nowadays, I mostly use this console to play the Game Boy Advance game, because on the bottom, this was backwards compatible, so you can play those games as well. And that's the thing, I play DS games on the 3DS, and on the regular DS I play Game Boy Advance one. So it's just something that I like to do. And to be fair, because I'm mostly playing Game Boy Advance games on this one, this isn't even the model that I'm usually using, and that's this model that I have over here. This is technically still a DS Lite without the top screen, because that one was broken, and I decided to make a Game Boy Macro. This is not a Nintendo branding, let's say, but people like to call this one Game Boy Macro just because it has the bottom screen, and it does resemble the Game Boy Micro. And yeah, with a little bit of soldering, you can do this yourself. You don't really need the top screen if you only play Game Boy Advance games. And this is how I usually play all my Game Boy Advance games. And now recently I started playing a couple of Pokemon games, and this is the one that I'm using to play the Game Boy Advanced one. So it's a really fun to do. It's something I built myself, so I'm really happy about it, and that's why it's the one that I usually play games on it. Now, I'm not sure if this video will come out before or after this one that I'm mentioning now. I have started a challenge about playing the original Pokemon, the red version, on my Game Boy, and I do have the Game Boy Lite over here, and that's because I usually play my original Game Boy cartridges using the Game Boy Lite. I know you can do that on some Game Boy Advance, the SP especially, with the color screen and also the lighting, so that's definitely better. But for some reason I really like playing games on the original Game Boy Lite, especially since it also has the backlit screen. It's not the best one, don't get me wrong, but it's just something that I like doing. And I have been doing this challenge of beating the Pokemon Red on the Game Boy Lite. I'm still switching from time to time to different consoles, but mostly it's being played on this one. So whenever I'm playing original Game Boy cartridges, usually I do it on this console. I also have the color, but it doesn't have a backlit screen, so it's quite hard to do. But as you can see, I have different one for different generations, different cartridges, and this is how I usually do. But also to give an honorable mention, it has to be for the Game Boy Micro. As I said when I talked about the Game Boy Micro, this is how it got the name, because it does resemble this one, which is an official product from Nintendo. And I got this one last year in Japan. I struggled so much getting this one because it's so expensive, and I did get a full box one, and I couldn't be more happy about it. And while the screen is so tiny, the colors are the best on this one. So from time to time, I really go back to it and play some Game Boy Advance, because that's the only ones that you can do on this console. But it's so fun to do and so fun to play, and it's so tiny. Yeah, I'm trying to keep this as clean as possible because it was almost brand new, and I'm planning to keep this one in my collection. But I wanted to give this an honorable mention just because I love this console so much, and sometimes I do play the Game Boy Advance games on that console. Now, with all these consoles that I mentioned over here, I kind of managed to fill in all the different generations. They are backwards compatible, like we have the PS Vita with the PSP and also the PS1 even, and I'm playing games on this one just because I like the second thumbstick. And then with the Game Boys, I'm pretty much covering every generation, also the DS and 3DS. But as I said, the ones that I'm using the most have to be the PlayStation Vita and the 3DS. I'm using this almost weekly, if not even more than that. But also the other ones, I think each week I do play on it. Just a couple of sessions here and there, either if it's Pokemon or some Mario. I do have several games that I like to chill with, especially on a Sunday night or something like that. So all of these consoles are still being used by me. Couple of times per month, if not even more. But as I said, PS Vita and 3DS are my go-to whenever I'm doing some retro gaming, but not only. Yeah, at this point we call it retro just because we can also play some older titles, so that's the only reason, don't worry. But there you go. As I said, I have a bunch of different other consoles. I have the full PSP lineup. I wanted to point this out, which are the consoles that I still use, because people were asking me and saying, yeah, you have all of these in your collection but you barely play them, so what's the purpose? Well, there you go, that's the purpose. I still use them, I still enjoy them, so it's my collection, so back off. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments and I'll make sure to answer to each and one of you. This is Silvio and this is the Tech Unraveled, and I'll catch you in the next one.